Hi there, this is Alvin with Kickstart Commerce. And in today's episode, you might obviously see that I'm in a different location, in a different place, with a map behind me, with a dapper looking gentleman next to me. And so in today's episode, I'll be bringing with you an interview with none other than Colby May. And so Colby is the CEO of Consult LIT. So Colby, welcome to Kickstart Commerce.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so we look forward to this interview, sharing with listeners what it is that you do. So to kick things off, share with our listeners and viewers what it is, who you are, and what it is that you do.
All right. Well, again, my name is Colby May. I wear a number of unique hats. I am a certified energy manager, basically. I manage energy. But I'm also an ordained pastor and with a focus on missions at all time. And we've tied them together into a firm we call Consult LIT. But kind of a little background. In 2001, I was working in partnership, the firm I was with was working in partnership with the State Energy Conservation Office. You know, you're talking about Paul and has his tent making job and how he's used his tent making job in order to really build the church and be a foundation for what God is going to build on. So this story kind of leads in that direction, which I think a lot of us use. But I was a certified energy manager. We did energy audits at over 5,000 schools across Texas, you know, super exciting stuff. But it's the whole idea that, you know, the state of Texas got this Exxon overcharge money back in the late 80s and created a $300 million pot of money. But the goal was to reduce the energy footprint in Texas. So in Texas, and again, I'm going somewhere, in Texas, the energy we use, well, actually they say 30% of the energy we use is wasted, which means in a perfect world, we can recapture that without spending money, just changing the way we operate.
Right, so behavioral changes.
Yeah. So I kind of carried this with me, and, you know, it was good, and, you know, God was kind of building something within me. My desire was always the local church, was always missions. And I was a youth pastor, you know, kind of volunteer for 10 years, and that's a different story, because they asked us to be youth pastor for 3 months, and ended up doing, you know, we ended up 10 years.
Wow. But
kind of within that, you know, God was even building within us a heart for justice, you know, just biblical justice. So I went to seminary in a place called Gordon Conwell up in Boston. Billy Graham founded it to be an evangelical presence in the Northeast, which is still dark in many ways. But I went in to understand, like, why do we do what we do as a culture? Right. I came out passionate about missions, because if we want to change the hands, we have to change the heart. Right. So the other half of this story is, during that time, I wrote my thesis in Congo, in Goma, Congo. And if you've heard of the Rwandan genocide, right? You had two tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis. You know, the genocide for 1 million people were hacked to death, just in ugly ways, over 100 days. And you look at that and you're like, why would we do such a thing? Right. And you look at it and it always ties back to their belief in God. Hutus believed that God gave them the authority to racially cleanse Rwanda. Now, an overflow that's still going on today, called the Kivu conflict in Goma. And, you know, just ugly stats as a weapon of war. I mean, so in Rwanda, you have two tribes, Hutus and Tutsis. In Congo, you have over 230 tribes, and they're all fighting or in conflict to some degree. So you have this convoluted mess. And one of them that we studied was the Kivu conflict in Goma. But make a long story short, on that, as a weapon of war, just real ugly, but as a weapon of war, 9 out of 10 women. Some stats say 9 out of 10 women have been raped as a weapon of war. Wow. A lot of murder, a lot of child trafficking, child soldiers. So just have this really perverted, ugly mess. But what I got out of it is I saw the church, and I'm going to skip over a little bit. I saw the church who have had generations of conflict, even the church fighting the church, right, where God brought the church together over a conference, and there was prayer and repentance. But after that, you had a united church. And it was that united church that began to be a light in extreme, you know, light is not just to stand on a mountain and, you know, shine your light. It's strategic, it's purposeful, it's intentional. So I got to see that intentionality of a church being the light. So now you have this energy management, right? Correct. And you have this passion to kind of work with a local church. Right. So, you know, everything that we do now, we want to do and work through the local church, because, you know, our hearts are, you know, holistic mission, which is proclamation and demonstration. So again, all that to say, hey, we started this firm called LIT, is using our energy management background, our tent making job, right?
Right.
Nehemiah was also a cupbearer. You
Correct.
see it all through that scripture, and this desire for just biblical justice.
Right.
Missions, what we call integral mission, and we partnered it, and we started the firm called Consult LIT or LIT. Another way we put it, we're working with the churches within the U.S. There's 370,000 churches within the U.S. We tithe $50 billion, according to State of the Plate in 2013. We tithe $50 billion. Now, 20% of that budget, typically our second biggest budget item, is utility bills.
Wow.
Right? So that's $10 billion, or 20% of that $50 billion is on just paying the light,
So that's
gas.
lights, AC units, whatever,
Yeah.
pretty much anything using electricity.
Correct. Now the other stat is 1 to 2% of that $50 million is actually spent on cross-cultural missions.
Okay.
So the whole idea is, what if we could use our tent making strategy and
Right.
energy efficiency to free up 30% of that 10 billion? In a perfect, even if we took a third of that, we could double, if not triple, missional giving.
Right.
So the whole idea is, let's use our tent making strategies to work with churches so that they can be more efficient, and then use that energy savings and redirect it to ministry and cross-cultural missional opportunities.
Gotcha.
So that's the heart behind what we do and why we do that.
Gotcha. And so then in terms of, so help me understand then, you walk into a church or a school and what happens?
So I go into a church. I typically work with the executive pastor, which I know you've been many times, executive pastor, and also the facility director. And you just look at the way a church operates.
Right.
Many times you're looking at a church that's 100, 200,000 square feet. In some cases we've done over 1 million square feet. But the way they use the energy, they're just not thinking, right? Genesis 1, God calls us to be good stewards of His creation. But actually the Greek word, the Hebrew, is defined as managers. And you just can't, let it happen. You have to think strategic. So
Correct.
many times when we work with the XPs or we work with facility directors, they're wearing more than one hat. As a result, you're in reactive mode.
Right.
You're not in proactive mode, you're in reactive mode. So you're just fixing problems, fixing lights, fixing HVAC filters, custodial stuff, so on and so forth. But by doing that, we don't realize how much money we're spending. Reactive energy is expensive.
Right.
Reactive maintenance is expensive maintenance. So we work with a facility director in order to to really help them and assist them in the way that they use and operate and maintain their energy. So we look at 10 different things, and I'm happy to talk about that, but it's just mapping out how they use energy and then making recommendations in different categories.
Gotcha. So obviously you said in terms of ConsultLit, because you have consultlit.com, right? And then I think you and I kind of crossed paths in terms of, I believe, looking through the news feed of LinkedIn and saw that you did a post. And what was interesting about the post, it was a video. And I just vividly remember, I don't remember any of the text before the video, but the thing that I saw, it was lit.church, which obviously sparked, a little, I guess I was a little intrigued by it. One being that, hey, my line of business is domain names.
Sure.
And how businesses, churches alike use those domain names to extend their reach or to reach their target audience. And so, obviously you're operating on a .com, but now I see that you have a .church address. So what kind of brought this on to go away from a .com, not completely, so to say, but to use a .church to promote LIT?
Well, yeah, I think just looking at domain real estate, keeping something that's very easy, marketing purpose, something that's very easy to remember. Consultlit.com, then that's not hard.
Right.
But our target audience is churches. 99% of what we focus on are churches or seminaries or Christian colleges. But our sweet spot is churches, so why not kind of put it in the name, lit.church or lit.church, and obviously that's our target. So you share it with the pastor. That's easy to remember. That's something you don't need necessarily give them a business card. They can just take it back with them.
Right.
But at the same time, I think, of course, .coms are always going to be there.
Right.
But I even think the curve, especially when you're looking at churches, you're seeing the postmodern and the millennials starting to come up the ranks and be the decision makers.
Right.
And I think with millennials and post millennials and I mean, I thought that was also a lit church. I think that's something that you know, that they recognize and that they see too. So
Right.
it's just kind of marketing. You know, it's easier to remember. And I also think in the .com we're always going to keep them, but I think we're going to ride that curve kind of away to other extensions that
Right.
cater to your business line.
Right. And so why not litchurch.com, or was that something that you even considered?
No, I never considered litchurch.com. I wanted I even thought litchurch.org. I wanted something that was easy. LIT is our name.
Right.
.church is obviously the extension, but it's also the target.
Right.
It's a lot of peace in it. So
Gotcha. And it's interesting because .church, I think there's life.church, which is a large church group that's been around for quite some time now. I mean, I think they have like 25 to 30 sites or different churches throughout the U.S. And they also use .church. They use .tv, and they moved away from .com. And so with a leader like that moving into .church, obviously that provides you with even that much more, I guess you'd say, I guess it's really that much more credibility that someone or some organization that big is willing to go out on the limb, be the pioneer, and you're just kind of riding that wave in there as well.
You see, I mean, Google is, you know, they're now Alphabet, right? This is their parent.
Right.
They're now ABC.xyz.
Mm-hmm.
Google also has GOO.gl. You know, YouTube is U.2. So you're seeing, I think, a lot of that. So that's kind of, I recognize that, and I thought it was a great idea.
So then, in terms of, because obviously most churches are, let's just, you know, if we were to speculate, it'd be something to say 10 to 15 years behind the technology curve.
Yes.
In some cases.
Yes.
So then, obviously, going out and promoting lit.church. I mean, what experience have you witnessed in terms of folks being able to understand that .church is an actual domain extension? Because you use this as email, right?
Yeah, Colby at lit.church, yeah.
So Colby at lit.church. So do people inadvertently type .com at the end, or do they go, well, is it litchurch.com?
No, I usually, if I'm giving a presentation or something, I'm always, you know, it's lit.church. It's not lit.church.com. It's just lit.church. That's the domain extension.
Right.
Email, Colby at lit.church. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing churches 20 years back. I mean, Southern Baptist Church of Atlanta.com or .org.
Right.
It's hard to remember.
Right.
Or anyway, so no, I'm not seeing that as long as you can see the older generation probably say lit.church.com. What's going on?
Right.
But
as you said, I mean, I think you look at it and go, yeah, with the church, obviously there's that tendency to believe that there is an aging demographic.
Yeah.
Versus, but like you said, there's this change of guard, if you will, of, you know, post millennials and millennials that are coming into having to operate in a world, and to a certain extent, you and I, we know the world before the internet.
Yes.
That's not their world. They've come into a world of just devices and, you know, looking at a domain, it doesn't really mean much, I guess, to them. And so have you witnessed that in your business any in terms of as you work with churches and as you begin to work with millennials, post-millennials, like what's their drift in terms of like energy management, energy savings? Is that something that they're into?
The older generation sees dollar signs mostly. More than millennials, post-millennials, X-Gen, you know.
It's like save the earth.
You save well, it's a social aspect,
Right.
which is very true. I mean, they're authentic on both. We want to save money. We want to make an impact. That's what integral missions is. It's proclamation and demonstration of the gospel and working through the local church. So you describe it to the older generation, you know, of course, there's a lot of dominion theology in some more conservative churches, which means the world is mine, I'll do with it as I please. You know, not necessarily scripture, at least in my opinion, but, you know, God has called us to be good stewards of His creation.
Right.
And you can just talk about it. He said, we just need to be responsible for what God has given us in regards to finances, in regards to the environment, you know, so that's, you know, you talk to the younger generation. Obviously, it's real easy. Hey, why not redirect the money you're already sending to the utility company, and let's redirect it to more gospel, biblical, you know, justice approach. And obviously, it's an easy sell. You're talking to an older generation. That's, you know, your second biggest budget item is your utility bills behind salaries. You know, here's what we could do to help you redirect that. You know, here's money for the bottom line that you can, you know, pay more salaries,
Right.
you know, do more missional aspects. So either way, you're seeing that intersectionality.
Now, one more question about in terms of lit.church. So, have you witnessed any, I guess, pros or cons in terms of search marketing? So, having it rank in Google or other search engines, have you witnessed any?
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, I, you know, consult lit.com. That took 3 or 4 years to gain, you know, a certain audience.
Right.
With meta tags and SEO and all that. But lit.church, I think it was more of a catch because, you know, you market on, you know, Facebook a little bit more. You know, you try to figure out who your target audience is and market appropriately. But I saw that audience ramp up quicker than I did with consultlit.com.
Gotcha. And are you noticing that that the social platforms are accepting of the new domain extension, so a .church? Or?
Yeah, I did. You know, sometimes you're like, you type in lit.church, it'll bring in litchurch.org or, you know, something like that. So I still think they're trying to get their arms, you know, SEO and stuff like that. They're trying to get their arms around that kind of stuff. But I'm seeing a quicker ramp up than I did with the other website.
Gotcha. And so that was going to be the other thing of how do you see, you know, lit.church in comparison ranking to your competition? Or do you have any?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's one firm that does what I do, and you know, it's, you know, a long name than .com.org, and our business models are completely different.
How so?
Well, one firm, they charge 95% of the energy savings for 5 years, and we usually pay for ourselves in, you know, the first month or so. So there's different strategies. They just have a different strategy which works for some people.
Right. So is that much more of, I guess, from a cash outlay? Is it much more that cash is outlaid on the front end?
Yeah, we're in, you know, typically 1 to 2% of what their overall cost will be. But we charge per square foot. You know, we do ask that. You know, we're a small firm. We're growing, but we're small, so revenue is important at this stage. So we do, you know, upfront. But you know, I think it's more attractive too to some churches to say, hey, if we can pay for this 95% out of our energy savings for the next 5 years, we don't have to put the cash up front. Sometimes that's more attractive to churches. But you're seeing it's different.
Right. And so in terms of that philosophy, obviously having the different business models in terms of cash outlay, of total cost of ownership. So then how does that actually work out in terms of, is it that, like, what are you doing that's different from them? Is it more so that they're actually just managing the services, or are you, you know, trying to ultimately teach and change behavior?
So we're like a pseudo nonprofit. We're both a 501c3 and an LLC. So yeah, we are for profit. We're also non-for-profit. So we see this as both a business venture, like a B Corp, a business venture, and a social, you know, nonprofit type aspect. So, but you know, with that, now, obviously there is some revenue, but it's, you know, on the lower end. And there's a very, you know, almost an immediate payback. We typically do the energy audit, and we show the church and tell the church how to do it in-house or themselves, or to go and find some low-cost financing, which we still offer. You know, some churches want that, to offer some really low-cost financing that eventually, you know, it might be like paying 20 to 30% of your energy savings to a certain organization until you paid off the, you know, a new HVAC system or the new lighting program. Where firms like the other firm, you know, it's 95% savings for the next 5 years. You know, there's one church that they said that they could charge them 50%. So they're going to end up, you know, that church was going to end up paying them $200,000 a year for 5 years. You know, we're not even 1% of that. So we're more of a social non-profit. We're the other one's more of a business model.
Right, gotcha. So then you're out to truly teach behavior, because I think in our pre-call we were talking, and I had asked you the question about whether or not the light switches. It's like, well, you could use technology, but then that doesn't necessarily change.
Yeah, we do. We want to, you know, our mission is missions, and just using that. And there's some stats like, hey, you know, if you're gone from your office longer than 23 seconds, it pays to turn your lights off. Right. You know, payback is 23 seconds. You know, have a little surge in energy, but you know, there's a payback after 23 seconds. And every degree you adjust your thermostat, you can save up to 1.5% on your energy bill. So I love teaching that stuff to the right audience.
Right.
Because I know if we do it the right way to the right people, it's going to make an impact.
Right.
Which that money is going to be redirected to the bottom line.
Gotcha.
So I think we really do believe we're making a kingdom impact. It's a unique niche, and there's not a lot of people in that unique niche for churches,
Right.
and for nonprofits. So in that sense, we do feel like we're making a big kingdom impact,
Right.
For every study we do.
So then, in terms of reaching this target audience, like what do you see? Obviously, you're using lit.church, but what other marketing do you see that's been effective for you to reach?
Yeah, there's some media, like we did some stuff with Relevant magazine, and we got some stuff off of that. Obviously, for us, it's best to we'll go to a large Southern Baptist conference.
Gotcha.
Called the Mega Metro or the
So
HP Metro.
trade shows.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. With these type of conferences, it's just there's 50 churches and there's 10 to 12 vendors, and that's it. And you're just living life with them in those 3 days. So you get to know them. You're not trying to push your product. You're just trying to your relationship. Gospel moves at the speed of relationship, in my opinion. So that's where we get. Obviously 90%. But but you can't ignore the media aspect and the online and the .church, and marketing in a strategic way to your target audience. You just don't want to do some general blanket where maybe 2% of your readers are pastors. You're trying to be strategic,
right?
And the way you do that, and you can with Facebook and Relevant magazine,
right?
But even Relevant magazine is post millennials and that aren't decision makers. So you have to again be strategic in the way you market,
right?
And I think this lays the groundwork for that, Lit.Church.
And so you can see, so what we're referring to, obviously you're seeing us make the hand gestures here. It is, this is an energy management empowering change book that you recently published, right?
Yeah, just like a marketing giveaway we give to a lot of clients.
Gotcha. So what's in?
Basically a how-to book. We wrote it for church facility managers, although, anybody that operates a building can use this and read it and implement it. But we talk about, there's 10 to 12 different chapters just on HVAC. How do you operate it? What's retro commissioning?
Right.
Basically turning your controls to a more efficient model. Lighting, rebates, utility bills, understanding kWh and peak demand, super exciting stuff. But anyway, it's just the first few chapters and the last chapters are just the heart of why we do what we do, the story behind what we do, and then the in-between chapters are more of a here's how to do it, here's how to implement it yourself. So if, you can get a book like this and probably do some stuff on your own without hiring a third party. Right,
and so is this actually, obviously this is, I believe the subtitle here is Sustainability Equipping the Local Church to Empower the Most Vulnerable. And so what's interesting is, so literally someone can take this book, read this book, begin to apply some of the principles that are discussed, both likely really although it's targeted towards churches, you can likely do the same thing towards your home or towards your business infrastructure. And likely see some sort of benefit, right?
Correct.
So then in terms of the book, and obviously you can see, you likely can't see it there, but it says lit.church, which I think is amazing in terms of the marketing approach of putting the domain name right there on the front, right there above the author's name. So in terms of folks being able to get their copy, what do they need to do? Do they need to visit your site? Or
go to lit.church, I can share a link with you, and then go to your site.
Definitely.
Pretty soon you go run a search on Amazon, and we don't make any money off it. It's just more delivery charge that Amazon charges, but it's just a kind of a free giveaway. So that's something that you guys can do if you're interested.
So you have the book, you have lit.church. Have you thought about any other domain extensions like .services, .solutions, or?
I played with a few. There's another nonprofit we have that we've been playing with some names. But I think with lit.church, I thought lit.com, but I think they want $500,000. That's a little bit out of our budget. And so I think lit.church, we're at peace with it right now. And we've always looked for some real estate, because I think real estate's important.
Exactly.
Domain real estate, but that's kind of where we are right now.
Definitely. Well, good deal. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with listeners, viewers?
No. I mean, hey, you think turning lights off, turning your thermostat up or down based on the season, or turning it off actually hinders the equipment. But you go look at EPA, which is Environmental Protection Agency, or DOE, Department of Energy, and you'll see a lot of good recommendations that can really impact the amount of energy you use if you're at a church or a business or your home. And that's money that can be redirected. Obviously, our heart is to missions, but back to the bottom line. So don't take it for granted, the way you manage your energy, because God has called us to be good stewards.
Definitely.
And on that lines, that's kind of our focus is by being better stewards, you can impact change directly or indirectly.
Yeah. And what would be your advice to whether it be a business owner or a personal brand or even a church that's thinking about using a .church to promote their business or their vision for reaching their target market?
I think it's great. If you can find a domain extension that fits your target audience or your model, I say jump on it. LIT.church, Mosaic.church, or whatever.
Right.
Things like that. I think grab it. I think that's the way that, because the .com is becoming more and more. It's hard to find that actually the real estate. And if you do find it, it's usually too expensive to grab. So .church or whatever, .tv or whatever. I think that that will go a long way.
Totally. Well, with that, we're out of time. So Colby, thank you so much for sharing today in terms of your experience with using a .church extension, as well as expounding upon your business consultant LIT, as well as LIT.church. And so you that are out there, I hope that you glean some information from this, especially if you're a church and you're looking to realize energy management savings, as well as take those savings and apply them towards missions. And so like I said, with that, we're out of time. So thank you, listeners, for tuning in to kickstartcommerce.com, where we share digital strategies to help grow your business. Please subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean. Also, please feel free to leave comments below the video or questions that you may have. Also, do one thing for me and visit kickstartcommerce.com, and on the right-hand side, I have a newsletter called The Daily Scoop, where I share digital strategies to help you grow your business, as well as other search marketing tips and tricks and WordPress tips and tricks. And so, last but not least, please visit lit.church. That's it. Thanks. And that's all for now.